They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
All right, well, welcome. Thank you for joining us today on Riggo the Diesel. I am Riggo. I am John Riggins, also known as, and Larry Michael, your voice of the Washington Redskins. This is episode 54 for all you people that are keeping a running count or a box score. Larry, interesting game on Sunday, I thought. And, we do the pregame show, and I had thought somehow, some way that they would win the game in the fourth quarter, and that's exactly the way it came down. It wasn't exactly the kind of game that I envisioned, but I have to say this. Before the game, I thought to myself, this thing could go a bunch of different ways. I could see both teams blowing the other one out, getting up and just, taking off and not looking back. I could see a close game, and I didn't quite see it the way this would, which it was a close game. In other words, a close game perhaps with more scoring. But what it got down to is the defenses were pretty good on Sunday, and you got down to where you got very fortunate. You got a great kickoff return by Steven Sims Jr., and that kind of set the tone a little bit. You kick 4 field goals, and you pull it out of there. You pull that last field goal out in the late in the fourth quarter, and that's enough for the margin of victory.
You nailed it, Riggo. By the way, Riggo, do you have a moment for a selfie? The show's not over yet.
Let's go.
I'll wait till after the show's over. Sorry, I thought the show was over.
Look at your clock. You always got to know what the clock is. Yeah, that's an interesting proposition right there.
Yeah, but you nailed it in terms of the football team. And you know what? I was impressed with the way the defense played. That was the defense. The Redskins' defense right now is rated 22nd in the National Football League, which they've inched up a little bit from where they started the season. The offense is it's hit rock bottom. They're 32nd, and they're last in a lot of key departments, last in passing, last in third down conversions, last in red zone offense. A lot of things to chew on, and you can obviously point to maybe some of the inconsistency. And you had a coaching change, and this team is now developing a personality as a run first type of offense. But when you're 1-9, you'll take the win, man. And that was a real strong win for the Redskins, a feel good win. It was Dwayne's first win as a starter. It was Geis's first win, a lot of guys' first win. So If you're a young team, you need to build on something, and that's something you can build on, I think.
It's funny. The one thing that's glaring to me as far as the offense goes is there's no touchdown production.
Last in the league in points, too, by the way.
Well, and, they kick a few field goals here and there along the way, and, thank God they can do that because that's what kept them in the game on Sunday, but they can't generate touchdowns, which is clearly going to be a problem. And I think that, and let's just go ahead and visit the Dwayne Haskins debacle.
Yeah, what did you think about that?
Well, my first impression was that, where I think Dwayne has a pretty good opinion of himself, and I kind of thought when I first saw it, I'm going, I see number 8 out there closing out the game because I too kind of turned away because the game was over. Technically, there was still time on the clock, and I really wasn't paying any attention to it, and I kind of thought that he just went kind of like, well, go ahead and get somebody else. My work is done, kind of one of those deals. And I have to say this, nobody probably remembers, it wouldn't have made any difference anyway, but the very last series in the Super Bowl 17, I was on the sidelines. I did not finish it out either. I just stayed over there because I felt like, my work is done here. What am I going to do? Go out there and get a few garbage yards and try to pad, how many yards I made that day? I don't think, it's not the same thing, but the point being is that in his first start, not his first start, but his first victory, and it's a home and all this stuff. There's several ways you can look at this, and we've got enough time. We can kind of dissect it a little bit as far as we can go anyway. I can see it many different ways, and I told you earlier that you can almost tell somebody's political persuasion by how they viewed it, whether they think it's no big deal, he's a rookie, big deal, he'll get over this, or if you're that would be a Democrat, or if you're a Republican, you're going that's non-professional. It's like you get kind of the hard ass look to it. But I have both of those. I see it both ways, and
so you're an independent.
What's that?
You're an independent, therefore.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of all this stuff because I think it. Now let's not worry about the optics of it. Let's face it, the optics aren't good,
right?
And you can breathe a lot of stuff into that, basically saying, well, and ultimately, of course, then you got to temper that with the fact that he's a rookie. But he didn't play that well, ultimately.
Right.
I mean, you got an interception, you got a fumble and all that kind of stuff, and you're playing an opponent who wasn't a world beater. And, so to get that up and that happy, I mean, in other words, and you can look at that two ways, but to go over and kind of lose sight of what you're doing out there on the field and the game, and it's going on, to go over and get so involved with the fans would make somebody possibly think that they're kind of a little bit thinking about themselves a little more than what's really going on. And the flip side of that, well, this is the guy that is basically the nerve center of the offensive team when they're on the football field that's, supposed to know what's going on, constantly calling plays. And they lose sight of the fact that there's still time in the game. So my point is that you can make that argument and say, well, if we're going to look into this, what do we have here? Is it cause for concern? And it could be cause for concern. And the flip side of that, though, is that here you get a guy that's, he's been waiting for this moment for so long, and just, you can't some people are that excitable. He could be, and once again, that could be construed as something to look into. But in this one moment, he just completely went blank because of the enthusiasm, and it would be something that you'll never see repeated. That's why I say, I can see it both ways. There's no matter how you look at it, there's a flip side to it.
Well, Coach Callahan admitted he called that timeout too early with those 20 seconds. None of this might have happened if he let that clock go down for the game-winning field goal on the final play of the game.
And really, you go, without getting really rough on people here, but that's a gaffe in a weird sort of way.
Oh, he addressed it.
He was asked to take all the time off.
He was asked, but again, none of this would have happened if that had happened.
Correct.
But I kind of agree with you on all counts, because there is a big. I got emails to Redskins Nation. People love the fact that he was engaging with the fans, but you gotta finish the game. And if you have the quarterback, what better snap than that kneel down victory snap, and you take that ball, and you got that ball, and you took that last snap, and it's my first win.
Probably, and I hate to interrupt you, but he probably would have had the option of keeping the ball because it's in his hands. And I don't know.
I think somebody did give him the ball. But then, if you look at the footage of him running into the tunnel, he was giddy with happiness as he was leaving the field. So, young kid, I don't think he's ever going to do that again. He doesn't want to be known as the guy that didn't finish the game. I mean,
exactly.
And of course. I did get texted on the way home after the game by your former teammate, the other man that wore number 7.
I was wondering.
And he wasn't none too happy about it, and he has voiced that publicly. Yeah. And I don't blame him, because that's not a professional look. But by the same token, you don't want to be the guy, you don't want to be the get-off-my-lawn guy, because a lot of the portion of the fan base thought it was kind of cool that he was doing it. And as I said to a guy on the radio the other day, I said, I really want to reserve judgment until I see the picture. How did the picture turn out of him and the guy in the stands? And it's a beautiful picture. Dwayne looks happy, and he definitely lost track of what was going on. And we're going to kill the guy over it? I mean, come on.
Well, the other thing, too, is that here's the thing that's kind of surprising. He played at Ohio State. In other words, you would think that there would be a certain level of
it's kind of a conservative program,
Well, yeah, and having been in front of that many people, it's like I'm kind of used to this, and so. But at the same time, I think that we all got to witness a dream coming true for a young kid that had been thinking about this for a long, long time, and all of a sudden it came to fruition. And for rightly or wrongly, he couldn't contain himself, and he just got lost in the euphoria that he was feeling.
Hey, folks, helping people improve their lives, which should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs. Transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com.
Well, for quite a while now, I've been working with the team at O'Connor Plumbing, and, why, you ask? Well, it's because they do a great job at a fair price. It's a family-owned and operated business. It's been in the Washington, D.C. metro area for the past 40 years. And they would like to take the opportunity, along with me, to thank everybody, past and present, for having having confidence and faith in O'Connor Plumbing to come into their homes and do the job. So this holiday season, we wish you all the best from O'Connor Plumbing. And if you do have a plumbing problem, don't hesitate to give them a call, 1-833 1-833-RIGGO-44, and it is Riggo tested and approved. They were just at my house last week.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
All right. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, welcome. Of course, you don't do that on a podcast, do you?
I guess you do, though. I mean, people could put it
skip
on
to
pause.
skip the first part, but it'll be the meat and potatoes. We talked about, the selfie.
That was a good first segment.
It was
real strong first segment, and I get a selfie with you, but the show's still going on, so I got to wait.
All right, so now coming up, and this is something I talked a little bit about. I think in the pregame show with Scott Jackson, and that is, you look at the season, and this team is not going to make the playoffs. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, and based on where they are and what's going on. More than likely, there's going to be a lot of change this offseason. I don't see how you can help that. I think they'll have a new head coach. Who knows how much change there's going to be. So, for a team and players are going to come and go. So, in other words, just from a personal standpoint of feeling good and being in the community of people, so they won't harass you if you go out for dinner. Fans is that. You should keep winning, right?
Right.
How much you're going to get out of that? In other words, can you really start to get a team that's starting to come together? Now, I can make the argument that yes, you can, because the year that Joe Gibbs was a rookie here, that team lost its first 5, and then they lost. Then they won a couple, lost a couple,
right.
But they ended up 8-8 that year. And all of a sudden, it took the beginning of the next year though for all that stuff to kind of gel and come together. But I think, you knew you'd done it from the year before. And so I guess my question is to go down to Carolina and get another victory. And Carolina's got to have this game. They're still in the playoff hunt. I don't know. I don't think they can win their division. Maybe they can. I mean, if New Orleans somehow the bottom falls out for them. But so you're going to play a worthy opponent. But, I always wonder, can you, by winning and with the group of young players, that we've got here, you've got, the quarterback, Haskins, you got Geis, you got McLaren, and, Sim, and, various others on defense and all this stuff. Can they start, and you start to wonder, can they all of a sudden start to develop kind of a camaraderie and, a relationship where no matter when the change does come, there's going to be enough of them left here that you've got a core that remembers winning, under adverse circumstances, I would say, to finish out this season the way things are, because it isn't something I'm sure that you're just really, get up in the morning and go, I can hardly wait to get to work and can hardly wait to play this Sunday and all that stuff, because there's got to be a little bit of trepidation not knowing what you're getting into. But I don't know. I mean, to me, I think it's possible, but I think they'll have a tough test down in Carolina because Carolina needs this football game and they're playing at home.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe in what you're preaching here, that you might see a team that could come together at the end of the year despite the fact that they're not going to the playoffs and say, okay, this is what we got to do from the first game next year. This is how we've got to prepare during the offseason. This is what it's all about, to get this feeling of victory, and we like this feeling. You got a lot of players on this team, the Alabama guys, the Ohio State guys. They're not used to losing. So that was really a down point for the Redskins 2-3 weeks ago when the losses began to mount, and you could look on the face of John Allen and Daron Payne, and you can look at McLaren's face, and you could see how upset they are because they hadn't won. And these are guys that are used to winning, I guess, until the national championship game, literally. Right. Maybe one game a year they'd lose. One game a year. Now you're losing week after week after week. So I think it's kind of good for your offseason spirit if you can taste it. Now, you got some fans who want the top draft pick, and that means you lose all your games. And I don't think this place is like that. I don't think anybody in the building is like that. And I have a hard time believing any NFL player is like that. I might have said this on the podcast before, that I don't know any NFL player. Maybe an organization might, if they really want to get a top pick, somehow figure out how to make sure they're getting the top pick. But if you're a player, you're going to get your neck busted, your foot broken. I mean, there's so many. This is a high-violence, high-speed game, and if you're half-stepping, you could not come out of that. You might not come out of that right. So, these 5 games, I think, have a meaning to next year. Though, how do you factor that meaning in when you have to presume of the changes that are coming, which are going to mean philosophical changes. You might have a different defense next year. You've been running a 3-4
And an
all this
offense,
time.
for that matter.
Another offense. And I think Callahan has done a good job trying to build an identity for a team in the last 5 weeks that didn't build one over the first 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, I know the way Jay wanted to run the team and wanted to run the football and wanted to be a physical team, but that's not what we saw on the field. So Callahan has wanted to run the ball, wants to be known as a physical team. Witness the padded practices they have, John. We've talked about that. It was unheard of prior to Callahan taking over. So, again, will that convey over to next year? How about some of the work ethic they've learned here over the last couple of weeks? A very unique situation, but on a player-by-player, with all the young players on the team, I agree with you 100%. There is some good that can come down the stretch here. Yes.
Well, and here's the other interesting part, for the folks that think that you want that number one overall pick in the draft. That is truly a crapshoot there. You don't know what, maybe your odds are better at getting somebody that's a real keeper, but it can also go the other way. I know there was a draft here years ago where they got a guy that they drafted him in the first round, and they had a free agent that was basically a walk-on, and the free agent, ended up being Hall of Fame material. And the other guy just hung on and was able to play and barely, got the job done. So I look at that and I'm going, well, no matter what, you're going to get a high draft pick regardless of how many games you, at this point, God
Unless
forbid.
you run the table.
Huh?
Unless you run the table. Don't you love that saying, run the table?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. They've got, 5 games left, so they
hard.
they
They're going
go
to
7-9? I don't think that makes a playoff, so.
No, but that's a long shot, obviously. I'm just a little bit of
But what I'm saying is that
Cowboys are 6-5.
That's true, and the Eagles are 5-6. So the Redskins are
theoretically
three
they're
games
not
out
of the playoffs then.
They're
TCAT's
3
right.
games out of second. Is that right? Yeah, I guess
Which probably
that
ain't going to get you. But the point being here is that, I think that really for the most part, at this point, it's more for self-respect.
Yes.
That you play the game as hard as you can, you do the best job you can, so you can walk around the locker room and go, hey, it wasn't on me this Sunday. I think that's what it gets down to.
I think you're right.
And because the core of this team, and they're the young guys, and that is the Jonathan Allens and the Deron Paynes and those guys and the Montez Sweat, and you got your offensive kids, and I'm wondering if those, because that you got to figure most of those guys will be here next year, unless there's some trade that's just so inviting you can't resist. And you move one of these guys. But I would think that ultimately has to be the core of your team. You've got probably from your center over to the right, you've got, and maybe, I don't know, to the left, I don't know what you have on your offensive line, but you got to figure most of those guys will be back here, I think next year.
Flowers proven he can play this year, so I think they're going to
win. And your defensive line, those guys, I can't see, they're all going to be back. Some of your linebackers, there's going to be some spots in your secondary.
You can look at the roster and see what the needs are, and you can almost identify the players, the veteran players, where these needs are, because, I don't know if you necessarily have a huge need for a wide receiver. I think you need another wide receiver.
You do.
You got a little bit of a core of receivers. I think you're in good shape running back. Could you use a young running back? Sure, because AP is up there. Offensive line, you need a left tackle because Trent Williams isn't coming back. And defensively, depending on what kind of scheme you run, you need an outside linebacker, you need an inside linebacker, you need a corner. And you need a safety, I think. So you look about 6-7 players. A lot of teams are like that, though, John, right? A lot of players, any 6 or 7 guys. That's what the offseason is all about. If you can get some free agents, hit a couple draft picks, you're a step closer. And then, of course, again, the unknown factor is who's going to be the coach of the team and what kind of stamp does he want to put on the team. And that could impact how they draft. So
I agree with that.
Whether on the field or in the classroom, the Washington Redskins believe learning should be fun. That's why we've partnered with youth entrepreneurs to bring their engaging hands-on style of learning to classrooms in the D.C. metro area. Youth Entrepreneurs Curriculum was created by educators for educators. That means it's flexible, fun, and absolutely free. To learn more about Youth Entrepreneurs and how to experience it for yourself, visit GetY-E.org. Redskins fans, don't forget the all-new this year on the Redskins app or Yahoo Sports, the official Redskins app. You can watch the Redskins live, free on your phone or your tablet. Download the Redskins app today. And like any great roster, the Virginia Lottery's lineup of holiday games features different and impressive stars. What a lineup. For $1, you can play Naughty or Nice Scratcher. That is TC's favorite. And a chance to win $1,000. $2 holiday cash game. Gives players a shot of winning up to $20,000. You've got all kinds of levels of victory here. Don't forget, you can play holiday-themed e-games on your mobile device with Mobile Play. All you need is a Virginia Lottery app and to be a lottery retailer. Give the gift of the Virginia Lottery holiday games.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
All right, we will continue on here. I'm thinking real quick. I mean, we're kind of getting down in late into the season here, and there's some teams that are starting to emerge and pull away from the pack. In the AFC, obviously, at the Patriots, or what are they at, 10-1, I think their record is.
Ravens are looking good.
Ravens, and that's all. I mean, they're one. Of course, maybe the New England is that way, although in the past it's been a long time since Brady was knocked out of the lineup, but they didn't play too badly when, what was his name, Todd Collins, I think. Didn't he come in and finish? Wasn't he the
I don't even know who their back. Hoyer was the backup? I don't know. I got to look that up.
Or maybe not.
Jacoby was the backup for a while there. I mean, the backup to Tom Brady is the least utilized guy in the league.
Perhaps.
He doesn't miss many games. But,
Don Strock type of.
yes, but
Well, and then and the Ravens are going to be the same thing as long as Lamar Jackson's around.
I know who their backup is.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 10.
Oh, you do?
RG3 is Lamar Jackson's backup. But
But has he played this year?
I
Yet?
don't know. He's played a couple.
He did.
In mop-up duty.
Okay.
Mop-up duty. How did he do?
Good handoffs.
Good
How many?
handoffs.
How much time was left when he went in the game?
Quite a bit. I'll bet you he played the last 5-6 minutes of the game.
Oh, okay. So clearly they're.
Well,
keeping
the
an
other
eye on
kid is lighting it up. I mean, I don't know. That
I
guy's
know.
he's unstoppable
He's rewriting
right now.
the position in a weird sort of way. I mean, it's kind of
Unstoppable.
weird too, because I think that, I think the first person I think of is Michael Vick when he came into the league and just completely, flummoxed a lot of defenses. They didn't know what to do, but he's like Michael Vick with a wrinkle. Vick had straight line speed for the most part and just outrun people. I don't remember him being, as lateral as Jackson is, and so he brings a whole other element when he gets the ball and takes off.
I think Vic might be a better passer, but you're right. And I saw a graphic on TV. You remember Bobby Douglas? He
was the original.
He was the original. He had about 800-900 yards.
Right.
That was the record then. And then Michael Vick broke the record with over 1,000 yards. And this guy now, Jackson, is on pace for 1,250 yards rushing for the year. And I don't know. That might be even higher pace because of what he did last night. I think he had 93 yards.
Yeah,
yesterday.
he did. He had over 90 yards.
So wow. And in the NFC, you've got one old reliable in New Orleans, and you've got San Francisco that they've just come out. They look real. They pounded the Packers on Sunday.
It takes a while for any franchise to get their feet underneath them when they have had a changeover, and it took a couple of years. I was just reading about how they went, John Lynch is the GM out there,
right.
And, of course, Kyle Shanahan, and things weren't looking too good. I think their first two seasons they lost, but it's funny how that other season it turns around, and all of a sudden everything falls into place. So it can be done. You got Minnesota still in the hunt in the NFC. I guess they would be a wild card now along with Green Bay, and then you got Dallas and the Seahawks.
Yeah. Well,
Dallas is kind of one of those strange teams. I thought they played. I watched most of that game. Don't know why, really, but with nothing better to do, I guess. I think it was raining. Wasn't it raining? No, it wasn't late Sunday afternoon.
it was
that morning,
windy. It was windy. But you know what? Jerry came out and he said some things about Jason Garrett. And he says, we're too far. I think he said we're too far down the road for me to be worrying about this team or something like that. So it could be the kiss of death there, John. It could be the kiss of death. They play Buffalo on Thanksgiving. Buffalo's got 3 losses. Buffalo on the road and Dallas. I think Dallas is a favorite in that game. And that's obviously Buffalo could win that game, and Dallas would be
clearly.
500. 500. Yeah. And, John, it's Thanksgiving. I just, as I look back here at Redskins Park, there used to be a lot of wild turkeys out there, and there's some deer back there. And Greg Blosh, our old defensive coordinator, would go back hunting back there, and I know that's not probably the proper thing to do.
No, shotgun, he's probably all right.
But he'd go back there in his camo, and he was a real outdoorsman. I'm wondering, have you ever caught your Thanksgiving meal? Have you ever caught?
No, I don't think so. In other words, I went out and shot a wild turkey?
Yeah.
I can't say that I did at Thanksgiving. No, I don't think I ever have. I remember in the fall here one year, but I think we ate it before Thanksgiving and went and did the other thing. The first turkey I ever shot, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And how's that wild turkey meat?
I'm telling you, it's delicious.
Is it?
It is. It's every bit as good. And I could make the argument that actually it's better in some ways because, domestic turkeys are not unlike domestic cattle versus elk or venison or something like that. There's just so much more fat involved. Of course, fat is what gives most stuff its flavor.
Right.
But there is absolutely nothing wrong with the wild turkey breast. I think to a certain extent it's not unlike a pheasant. They really make their living with their legs, although they can fly a pretty good long way, but they're not like a goose and they're going to transverse the continent. But because they run so much, their legs are just nothing but tendons, and it's like eating toothpicks.
Yeah, turkey drumsticks have too much of that. Those pieces of like plastic in them.
Yeah. Well, it's all the tendons. It's all
tendons. I mean, you get those at the you go down to Disney World sometimes. That's a big thing
and
now.
And they sell you a drumstick,
turkey leg. But it really, I mean, you got to find the one little area between the tendons, and it's a pretty nice sized piece of meat. But you can't. But it's really quick. And same thing goes, for turkey thighs. Not like a chicken thigh. No. Not exactly like a chicken thigh.
They're a little bit heavier. It's funny you should say that because I'm kind of planning on, because we have a turkey, about a 12.5-pound turkey. We got 6 people coming over. And I think I'm gonna try one of the drumsticks. As a kid, I used to, I don't know, there was something, I watched too many cartoons of the caveman was eating, eating a big, huge bone and all that. So I got that in my head. So I'm gonna try one. I'm not don't really care for the dark meat anymore. Used to. I'm pretty much a white meat kind of guy. But I might give the drumstick a try this year.
And I'm betting the culinary expert that you are, you probably make your own gravy.
Oh yeah, that's all.
Make your own gravy. And what's the key to non-lumpy gravy? Because anytime I
don't know why you would, basically you got to get your fat from the turkey, whatever it's going to be, and mix it. Usually I use pretty much equal proportions, and then you got to put milk in. But you stir the flour into the oil or the fat and get that so it's all nice and smooth. Then you start adding milk. And just keep stirring it till you get to the point.
So maybe I'm putting too much flour in and not enough elbow grease because it's always lumpy, always. And
always lumpy
for me. And I've there's a company.
Do you have a whisk?
There's a company called Heinz. They got these bottles of the stuff, and I just go get some of them. I mean, I don't. I'm not a big gravy fan, but
I'm telling you, we never have enough of it. It's just like
What about stuffing? Do you guys do some? My mom used to make
another thing I have to make.
Makes walnut stuff. I just, she's not with us anymore, and that's one recipe I wish I had because there's nothing like that. I mean, the bread, it's just bread stuffing to me is just filler. It's just filler. Not a big fan of stuffing.
But with gravy on it, Larry, I'm telling you, you're going into the wheelhouse of a lot of people, or I should say you're going against the wheelhouse of a lot. Yeah. My daughters is like, they will stick a gun in my ribs if I don't make gravy and stuffing. I mean,
what kind of stuffing?
They'd rather have the stuffing than the turkey.
What kind of stuffing do you make?
I just do the regular bread. My mom gave me a Betty Crocker cookbook years ago, and it's all torn apart. It's like one of those binder type books.
Yeah.
But they've got a great recipe, and at least I use it every year. And a little thyme, and I think a little sage, and butter and bread, and a little celery and onion, and you saute the celery and the onions, and you mix it all with your bread, and chop up the herbs and mix that all together, and then with the butter and all that stuff, throw it in the oven, put a lid on it, and
you don't stuff the turkey then.
Well, I have in the past, but I don't know if I'm going to this year. I've stuffed it up around in the neck cavity where all that extra skin is, and actually in the cavity itself. But there's always something about trying to get the stuffing out of there and all that stuff. It's just so much easier to put it in a pan, and plus it's kind of in a weird way. It's different when I know this from a what do you call it, a bacteria point of view. Poultry is something you got to be careful with because obviously there's some bacteria that's associated with it. If you make your stuffing separate and apart from the bird, it's a lot more user friendly. It'll leave it out at room temperature and so on and so forth. So, and then that's in the Betty Crocker cookbook. You got to be really careful when you mess with the bird. If you do stuff too soon, you don't want to stuff your bird the night before because that gets the bacteria a chance to start growing. I guess
that kind of sounds gross. Yeah. Hey, how about does the Riggins household favor cranberry sauce? And no
cranberry sauce.
No,
I don't do cranberry sauce.
Don't do it because it's the biggest waste, especially the stuff that comes out of the can.
Yeah,
I've seen cranberry sauce though that's almost like a jam type of thing with actually cranberries, and there's cranberries, but that clear gelatinous tube of cranberry that my parents used to put out there, and they'd cut that thing.
Right.
It was gross, man.
It was like Jell-O.
It was like Jell-O
with cranberries in it.
And they felt obligated to put that stuff out there, and nobody ever ate it, ever, ever, ever. So I'm anti-cranberry sauce, but very, very pro green bean casserole.
Yeah, green beans, good. What was it? Mushroom soup in it?
Wishbone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wishbone. That'll be big.
What's the rules on the wishbone?
Oh, you got to wait till the next day. I know that much. You can't, if you try it.
Have a fight over it?
Yeah, they will. Well, no, they won't have to fight over it. They'll be doing the wishbone and see who wins.
And everybody's different house has a different significance to winning.
Well, that kind of leads me to tell everybody, I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. And now, don't take any guns with you to Thanksgiving dinner, because in our political climate, I'm afraid it could get ugly at these different. Fortunately, at my place, there will be no political conversations of any kind. That will be, when you start talking political, I'm going to have the bouncer, that will be me, escort you to the door. Political talk.
Did you see the president had the dog that chased Baghdadi down the hall?
Oh, right, and the dog got shot or something like that.
The dog
right?
got electrocuted. The dog recovered. Conan, that's right. And that, hey, you can't beat a good dog story. Regardless of which side of the aisle you sit on.
That's true.
A hero that's a dog.
The dog is neither a Republican or a Democrat. He just is a dog.
Give that dog
loyal
a
to
drumstick.
everybody.
Give him a drumstick.
Give him more than a drumstick. Give him Baghdadi. All right. We'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving.
You got it. Pick up the pace just a little. Thank you, ma'am. All right, folks, everyone, calm down. We're just looking for a spot. Oh, we might have a winner. Row 4, third down on the left, and he rounds the corner. Oh, why? Why are tiny cars allowed in regulation-sized spots?
You could lap the mall parking lot for an 8th time, or avoid the stress and give the gift of holiday scratchers from the Virginia Lottery.
And now, time for another Honda highlight. The air was cold, but the deals were heating up at the Happy Honda Days sales event. With the entire versatile roster on clearance, all signs pointed to victory. Turbocharged tandems like the Accord and Civic, or all-wheel drive SUVs like the CR-V, HR-V, Pilot, and Passport. With clearance pricing, everyone's a champion.
Have your own Honda highlight with a clearance deal during the Happy Honda Days sales event. Now at your local Honda dealer.
Locally owned Novec has competitive rates and some of the highest customer satisfaction ratings among electric utilities in Virginia. Novec members are receiving more than $4 million in cashback credits in December, and they enjoy the most reliable power in the region. Novec is growing its renewable energy supply, including more solar. Novec, power you can trust.
I'm Darryl Green. I retired from football in 2004, but I'm still active in business. I'm a founding board member of Main Street Bank, a local community bank meeting the needs of businesses like yours. I'm speaking now to the most football knowledgeable, faithful, most caring folks in the world, the Redskins faithful fans. I'd like to ask you to consider banking with my bank, Main Street Bank. Trust me, you'll get high-tech products and personal service. Go to mstreetbank.com and tell them old number 28 sent you.
Main Street Bank, member FDIC.